Guys, good evening everyone and welcome to day 3 of this HTML CSS Essentials session. Okay, so far we have learned a lot of things, right? On the first day we learned about what exactly HTML is, how to create your first web page, how to start putting content on it. We understood the exact value of HTML, where exactly it is used, right? Now yesterday we focused on forms. So if you understood how to create a proper form, which is one of the very essential things if you're building a web page. And after that, we also, talked about a little bit about CSS. So we understood what CSS is, right? And how to write it. The basic syntax was, simply property value format, right? And there are many more properties that we'll learn slowly and steadily. And after that, we saw that there are 3 ways by which you can apply CSS onto your elements, right? And we saw the first way, which was the inline way. Now today, we'll go ahead and we'll discuss about the internal CSS way. We'll also talk about the external CSS. Okay, we'll understand one of the most important things in CSS, that is going to be box model, which a lot of people get confused in a lot of times. So we'll understand box model, and we will also try to create a very basic layout, because tomorrow, guys, when we come back, we have to go ahead and start flex boxing. And then after learning all these things, we'll be ready on day 5 to create our first project, that is going to be a portfolio. Okay. So now, guys, yesterday we saw that, look, let's try to revise a little bit. Let's try to revise a little bit what we learned yesterday. So we understood that CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It's a language that we use to apply CSS on your HTML elements. We saw, right? HTML elements are just blank elements that are created on the web page. They don't have any kind of arrangement, alignment, styling. So to give them styling, to arrange them properly, to align them properly, to give them sizing, coloring, we use CSS. Otherwise, our HTML page will just look like a newspaper. But we want it to look like a proper web page, a beautiful web page. That's why we have CSS. I'm just, trying to brief it. Okay. Now then, everyone, let's go. So we saw that CSS syntax is very simple. It's always written in property : value format. Okay. Property : value, then semicolon, right? So one example is this color red. Other example is this height 200 pixel. Then other example is background color green, right? So something like that. Okay. Now I said that, okay, fine. We're going to be using this way to write CSS, but we actually want to apply CSS on HTML elements. So we saw that there were 3 ways. One was the inline CSS, the other was the internal CSS, and the other was the external CSS. We saw one of the ways yesterday, which was inline CSS, in which you go to the exact tag where you want to apply CSS. You go to that exact tag and you use the style attribute, and inside the style attribute, you start writing the CSS that you want. So in this case, I have given color as red, which will change the text color, and then background color as yellow, right? So let's go, guys. Let me run this page quickly and then we can get started with our today's session. So, okay, this was what we saw yesterday. So this is one element, and here the color is red and the background color is yellow, as I have applied it here. Okay, so guys, this was inline CSS. Now there are some disadvantages to inline CSS. Now, guys, please focus. From now on, guys, for the next 30 to 40 minutes, I want your complete focus so that you understand everything. Okay. So this was inline CSS, where you write CSS directly in the tag. But now there are some disadvantages of using this inline CSS technique. Now let's try to understand what are those disadvantages. Now see, guys, right now I have 2 p tags. In future, I might have 10, 20, 30, 40 p tags, right? So in future, I might have many more p tags. In that case, what if I want to apply same CSS to all those paragraph tags? So in this case, what I'm trying to say is, let's say I just create few more paragraph tags here quickly. So one more, something like that. And also let me adjust it. It will still work, but I just want to adjust it properly so that it looks good. Okay, something like this. Okay, nice. And here also, I want to adjust it properly. Okay. So now let's say I have 4 paragraphs. You can see that, right? We have 4 paragraphs and I want to apply the same CSS to all the 4 paragraphs. So guys, if I'm using the inline technique, in that case, you know what I have to do? I have to write the exact same CSS again and again for every tag. So if I want to apply it, I have to copy the CSS and I have to again write it in this p tag. Then only it will get applied. So guys, the only disadvantage of inline CSS is that the CSS cannot be reused. You have to again write it for the other tag. Right now you have only 4 p tags, but in future think, what if you have 10 p tags, 20 paragraph tags, 100 paragraph tags in your whole website here and there? And not only paragraph tags, guys. What if H1s are there, images are there? There can be, like if you go to a site like Amazon, there are hundreds of images. So are we going to write CSS again and again for those hundreds and thousands of images? Because in that case, then I'll be coding too much. I'm writing the same CSS again and again, if I am going to choose inline way of writing CSS, because it only works for that single tag. So if I wanted to apply to other tag, I have to write it again. And that is one very, bad disadvantage of inline CSS. And that's where, guys, the next type helps you. That is internal CSS. Now, in this case, what you do is, first of all, let's go and let's remove the inline CSS from now. Let's remove it. So now everything back to normal. I'm removing the inline CSS. So once I've removed the CSS, you will see that everything is back to normal. Okay, cool. All good. All the p tags now don't have any kind of CSS. Nice. Now let's see how will internal CSS solve our problem. And guys, internal CSS is always written above the HTML elements where you want to apply CSS. So let me remove these guys, all these tags from here. We don't need them anymore. Okay. Now remember, guys, internal CSS should be always written above your HTML elements wherever you want to apply this CSS. That's why the best option should be go in your head tag, and after your title, link, whatever tags you have at the end, or guys, anywhere in your head, it's fine. But I would always like to put it below title and link, on a separate space. Go here and you have to use a new tag called as style. Okay. Now, once you use style tag, this area now belongs to CSS. You can never write any HTML here. See, even if I write, it's an error. Okay. You cannot write elements here. See, it's not coming. Is that clear, everyone? So remember that. Now this area between style and /style is the area completely for CSS. Inline CSS can be tedious to coding. Okay. So now guys, you come to this area. Now the first of all, there is a difficulty to understand here. And the difficulty is in inline CSS, I was writing CSS directly at the element. That was good. But now my element is somewhere else. Okay. And I'm writing CSS somewhere else. So how will the CSS know that I have to get applied on this particular element? So now guys, for that, we have to understand one concept of something called as selector. Now guys, a selector in CSS is nothing but a way of selecting or targeting element which you want to apply CSS on. Guys, that's the basic definition. A selector is nothing but a way of selecting, either selecting or we say targeting, selecting or targeting an element on which you want to apply CSS. And an element can be selected. So guys, if you feel, okay, I want to apply CSS on this P element or H1 element or image element. So there are various ways. There are various ways of selecting or targeting an element on which you want to apply CSS. The first and the very simple way is you can directly use its tag name. So I want to apply CSS on P tag. Simply go and write P. That's all, guys. Please don't put this for everyone who is new. Don't do this. You're not writing a tag here. You just want to select the tag by using its real name. So just write P. Now, when you write this P in this style area, the CSS understands, oh, you want me to apply CSS on P tags. Yes. And after that, guys, create a block. Okay. Now, now it can be like this or it can be like this. Anything is fine. I generally go with this because it looks much more, clear. Now, inside this block, whatever CSS you write will be only applied on all the P elements in your web page. For example, if I go and write color gray. So now see what will happen. So I'm saying P tag, your color will be gray. So now in my whole web page, no matter there are hundreds, thousands, lakhs of P's for every one of them, the color will be gray. See that, everyone? I think gray is not that much visible. Let me show you by making it red, which will look very bad, by the way. But again, just for the demo, let's go. See that? All the P tags are now red. See, this pre is not red because we have not applied CSS on that. This link is not red because we have also not applied CSS on that. We have only applied CSS on P tag, and that's why that becomes red now. Is that clear, everyone? So that's how we can do. I can also go and I can write pre. So for pre, I also want, let's say color something like green. And you'll see now that the color of that is going to be green. I know which is very bad, but it's fine. Here we go. See that, guys? Now the pre is green and P is red. So guys, you can just continue like this. Inside the style area, you can just continue like this. Continue completely, just like that. Put any element and write CSS for it. And guys, it can be n number of properties. Okay, for all the new people, for the people who are learning CSS for the first time, just simply go ahead. You can do whatever you want, any property. So let's say I also give pre a background color of, let's say, gray, something like that. So you'll see now your pre is having a background color of gray. Is that clear, everyone? You can see, right? Its color is green. Color means, guys, text color. Color always means text color. And background color means the whole background color. Simple. That's how simple it is. Remember that, everyone. Okay. Now you'll understand more about background color once we go a little ahead in CSS. Don't worry, wait for some time. Now see, you can also give font family to it. Now see, if I want to change the font family of pre, I can go font family. And let's say I don't know if this property is available in Mac or not. Pseudo UI, something like this. Let's see if this font is available in MacBook. I have not checked it, but let's see. And here we go. See that, guys? The font family of pre has changed. So it's up to us. We can change it. And guys, the font family that I'm using here it should be installed in your PC. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay. Right now, this font is already installed in my PC. So only the fonts that are installed, you can use them like this. If you don't want to install a font, you can also use an online font. Or you can download a font and attach it with your project. That's also possible. So if we get time, I'll also show you how to do that stuff. Don't worry. Okay. But the main thing is, guys, now I can write n number of properties and that's completely fine. But fine. So understood. Now, guys, that problem is solved. What was the problem of inline CSS? The problem was we were unable to use the same CSS again and again. Here that problem is solved. I wrote CSS for p tag only once. I wrote CSS for p tag only once, but it's getting applied on all the fonts. On all the P's. What if I need different color for all the P tags? Now that is the disadvantage here. See, guys. Now that is actually what we need to understand. See, the problem of inline CSS was we were unable to reuse the same CSS. That was solved by internal CSS. Now I wrote my CSS only once and it's working with all the P tags. So my reusability is there. But now there's one more problem. What if I want that for the first two P's, I want blue, and for the next two P's, I want red? What if I want something like this? Now that's a problem again. So guys, what I have to do now is then, because see, if I apply CSS to P, it will work for all the P tags because they are P tags. So now guys, what we have to do is we have to give them some other name by which I can select them so that I can apply different CSS on all of them. So guys, as I said, there are multiple ways of selecting an element. The first way was using its tag name. Okay, so you saw that you can use the tag name to select element. The second way is you can give all the elements a nickname by using the class attribute, which is also called as class name. So what you can do is you can go to a particular element and give it an attribute called as class like this. And let's say we call it as para, or let's say para1, something like that. Okay, so you can give something like a class. Now this class is nothing but it is called as a class name. That means now this P element can be called or can be selected using two names. Either you can call it using P tag, its own tag name, or you can call it using para1 class name. Think of it like a nickname, guys. Just like you have your nicknames, right? So you can be called by your real name. You can be also called by your nickname by some people. Just like that. Now this P tag can be also selected using P tag name or by using its class name. So let's see how to select a particular element using its class name. How to call an element using its class name. And it's very simple, guys. So what we can do is let's remove this P tag for some time. Okay. And now here I can go. And what was the class name, guys? The class name is para1. Remember, guys, you can give whatever you want as class name. It's up to you. It's not fixed. I can give it Saurabh. It's also fine. It's completely up to you. Okay. But in this case, I don't think Saurabh will make sense there. So let's call it as para1. Okay, cool. And now here, if you want to select an element using class name, you can write the class name directly. But guys, if you write the class name directly like this, CSS would understand it because CSS knows it's not a tag. But CSS also doesn't understand it's a class because it will think, oh, it's a tag. But if it tries to find out, it will never find a tag called para1 because it doesn't exist. So to tell CSS that no, this is not a tag name, this is a class name, what you have to do is you have to go ahead and put a dot in front of it. Once you put dot, CSS understands, okay, I have to go ahead and search for a class with para1. So I have to search or I have to check all the elements who have a class name of para1. And to all of them, we have to apply this CSS. So I'll go and write, let's say color blue. And now you will see that our first element is having a class of para1. So for that, see, it becomes blue. All the other ones are black because I have not applied any CSS. But now the first one becomes blue. And guys, the best thing about classes is you can repeat them. So that means I can give the same class to n number of elements. I can give the same class to multiple elements, and that is allowed, guys. That is completely allowed. Okay, you can give the same class to multiple elements if you want to apply same CSS to all of them. And not only same kind of elements, guys, anyone can have it. For example, if I have a h1, okay, let's say something like hello, that also can have the same class, para1. Okay, something like this. And now h1 should also be blue in this case. See that? So guys, classes can be repeated. That's what makes classes so much useful. So guys, classes are nothing but a way of giving one more name to your elements by which you can apply CSS on them. And the best part about classes, you can repeat it. Is that clear, everyone? I hope you're understanding. So now you can give as many classes as you want to all your elements and then apply CSS. And the best part is if you have 10 elements, okay, and you want to apply similar kind of CSS to all those 10 elements, you can give all of them the exact same class. Is that clear, guys? Everyone confirm that once. Are classes understood? Now, if I want the next 2p elements to have red, I can give a different class to it. I can go ahead and I can give a different class. So let's give it class of para2. So to both of them, we can go and give a class of para2, something like this. So let's go to this element as well and give it a class of para2. Okay. And if I now apply CSS to, now see guys, last 2p elements, this third p element and the fourth p element have para2 class. Now I can go to para2 and I can apply some CSS like, let's say color red. Okay. Let me just correct this indentation quickly. And now it should be red, the other 2p elements. And that's it. See how easy it is to give classes. And you can do whatever you want now. It's completely up to you. Now see, everyone, please focus. Now, they have class name like para1, para2, para2. But they are also still p, right? They are still p elements. That means, what if someone goes and also applies some CSS using p element? For example, someone says color green. So now what's going to happen? So let's see now. Now guys, in this case, if you see, nothing happens. Why nothing happens? Because for the elements, classes, or for the CSS, class has more priority than the tag name. So guys, okay, it knows, okay, I'm a p element, I have to get color green. But because of the class, they also have class. So they will always listen to the classes. Classes have more priority than tag name. But if the tag name is also putting something else, now see guys, for example, if I go and, put, let's say font size, 30 pixel. Now see here what will happen. You will see color green not got applied, but font size got applied. See that, everyone? To all the P's. Because font size is not written in para1 or para2. That's why that can be taken. But color is written in P, but it's also written in color blue in para1 and para2. That's why I'm going to give high priority to para1 and para2 because they are classes. That's how simple it is, guys. That means only if you're giving similar properties using your tag name and class name, in that case, it will take classes as priority. But if something different is coming, which is not getting provided by classes, then it's fine. So that means if you give the similar property in class, that will override the tag property. Remember that, because classes have high priority. But this was not anywhere. This was not applied by para1, not applied by para2. That's why this was fine. I can take this, but I never took the color. Cleared, everyone? Guys, I hope you've understood this. Okay, so just remember that classes have more priority than tag names. Okay, but only if there are similar properties. If there are different properties, then I can take anything from anywhere. It's completely fine. Okay, nice. Now guys, not only classes, there is one more way by which you can give one extra name. There is one more way of giving extra name, which is by using ID. So you can give one more nickname by using something called as ID. Okay. So guys, one more way is you can give something called as an ID. Okay. Now in ID also you can give whatever you want. So I can go ahead and give, let's say 1, something like that. Now I can also apply CSS using ID. So I can go and I can write 1. But again, guys, CSS won't understand. It will think it's a tag name. So to tell CSS that it is an ID, you have to use something called as hash. Okay, so that means dot for classes and hash for ID. So if you're selecting element using ID, you have to give hash. If you're selecting element using class name, you have to give dot. Remember that. Now I can go ahead and apply CSS. So I can just go, and give it a background color of, let's say, gray. So now to that P element where I have given ID of 1, it will take gray. See that, everyone? Okay. Now let me see, guys, understand here. Okay. Now this element is having class as well as ID. Okay. This element is having class as well as ID. Okay. Class is para1, ID is 1. Nice. Now what if, now I know that it's getting color from its class, which is color blue. Now what if I also give color to the ID? So let's say I give color, yellow in the ID. Now what? Now that element is getting color from ID as well, and it's getting color from class as well. Now which one it should take? Now let's see. Let's try to understand this. It will take the ID one because ID has more priority than classes. So it's like this: ID, then class, then tag name. Class has more priority than tag name, and ID has more priority than class name. So if something similar is coming from class and ID both, I'll take the ID one because ID has more priority. Is that clear, guys, everyone? So ID has the highest priority. You can say that in terms of selectors, ID has the highest priority. But everyone remember, when you're working with CSS, now it's a suggestion. It's a really good suggestion. So please listen to me carefully. When you're working with CSS, always try to just use class or tag name. Don't use IDs in your CSS until and unless you know what you're doing. Avoid IDs. Normally, you should avoid IDs using CSS. Why? I'll tell you. Because see, guys, in CSS, when you're writing CSS, most of the times you really want to repeat the CSS, right? When you go on websites, you see a lot of things which have similar fashion, similar style. So that's why, guys, the main reason is the problem with ID is ID cannot be repeated. According to W3C, you cannot give the same ID to any other element. Okay, you cannot give that. That's why if I give this, it will be an error according to W3C. And that's why you should avoid IDs while using CSS, because the simple case is I cannot give the same ID anywhere else. So what if I want to apply same CSS on 10 elements? Can I use IDs? Can I give same ID to 10 elements? No, it's an error. But you can give same classes. So that's why you should always go for tag names or classes. Avoid using IDs when you're working with CSS. Is that clear, everyone? Guys, I hope you've understood. So we are also going to ignore IDs for this whole, while using CSS. Not in JavaScript, it becomes very important. But in this case, we can completely ignore the ID. Okay, but let's keep it. Let's keep it in the document so that you'll get it afterwards. So guys, that's how you apply CSS. Either by using tag. Now, if it is ID, class, and tag, then the sequence doesn't matter. They will tag their normal priority. But in CSS, guys, to the exact same element, you can also give multiple classes. How to do that? By just giving a space, and after that you can write one more class. Let's say I write, something like ANS. Guys, any random name, okay? So now that means this element is having two classes, para1 and ANS. Okay. Now I have two classes. Now both of them are classes. So which one to give priority? Like for example, this element is going to get color from para1, which is blue. But what if I also give it color using ANS? Like let's say color purple. Which one it's going to take? Guys, what do you say? Which one is going to take? The first class or the second class? Come on, tell me quickly. First class or second class? See, in ID, class and tag, ID priority, highest priority, then class, then tag name. But what if I have two classes? Come on, let me see, everyone, which one it's going to take? Let's test it. And now it takes blue. So guys, it depends on in which sequence you're writing CSS. So if both of them are classes, In that case, the priority is decided by who is written at the last. Is that clear, guys? Everyone, the priority now is decided by the sequence. So if both of them are classes, guys, whatever comes last, it will override the previous one. Like it's like the code logic. Initially you said a equals to 2. After that you said a equals to 4. So final value is a equal to 4. Just like that. So if both of them are classes, whatever is last, that will be taken. Classes have multiple classes in one class, but ID is unique. That is the only one tag example. Exactly. So guys, that's the best thing about classes, right? First of all, you can use the same class on multiple elements. Second, you can give a single element many more classes. Right, everyone? So that's why classes are so much flexible. IDs are fixed. Once you give it to one element, you cannot repeat it. You have to give a different ID to something else. So guys, this element is having two classes, para1 and ANS. That's all, guys. ANS is nothing, just a random word because I wanted to ask a question from you and I wanted an answer from you. That's why I named it ANS. Okay, nothing serious about it. So guys, first of all, are you clear with this basic idea of selectors? Tell me that. Don't worry, how to color, what is universal selector, everything I'm going to be telling you that in some time. Don't worry, guys. That is this whole session about. So don't worry, just wait. We'll go there step by step. But first of all, guys, are we cleared with all these things that we have learned here till now? Okay, hopefully. Now, let's talk about one more thing. Let's move ahead. Now, this was internal CSS. Now, internal CSS is completely good. It has no big problems, but there is one small problem, and that is in future, when you're working on very big web pages where you have thousands of lines of HTML and thousands of lines of CSS. In that case, guys, we have a problem, and the problem is your CSS will be on top and your HTML will be on bottom. So you have to again and again scroll up and down, You have to continuously scroll up and down if you want to start working with CSS and HTML both. Now that's a problem, right? You have thousands of lines of CSS on top and thousands of lines of CSS on bottom, right? So you have to always go up and down to do coding, and that will take a lot of time. It will also increase your web page size, right? So first thing is problems in coding. Code maintainability becomes tough. Secondly, your page size increases, so the load time will also increase, and that's a problem. And guys, to solve all these small problems, we have the third way, which is external CSS, which is 99% similar to internal CSS, guys. There is no change in terms of writing. The main change is, what you're going to do now is, you're going to take all the CSS. Okay, we're going to take all these CSS from here. Now, you no longer need style tag. Remove it. Now, what we're going to be doing is, we are going to be creating a new file. Okay, we're going to be creating a new file. And this file will be completely dedicated to CSS. So we're going to be calling it a CSS file. Okay, give it whatever name you want. So let me call it as style. And the extension should be .css. Okay, that's all. .css. Okay, so it's a CSS file. A file completely dedicated to CSS. And now you can paste your CSS here. Guys, no need of style tag. You can see now. We have all the CSS here. In the same way in which we wrote our internal CSS. But right now, will it work? Let's see. No, it's not working. Why it's not working? Because guys, fine, you have written CSS separately, but how does the HTML file will know? How will the HTML file know that this is my CSS in a separate file? They should know about each other, right? So that's why, guys, now you have to link both of them. And to link both of them, you again have to use the same tag, which is link tag, which you use to relate icon. Now you're using it to link a style sheet. So guys, now when you're linking a CSS file with your HTML file, you have to use relation equals style sheet, because you're simply saying the file which I'm linking is my style sheet. It's the place from where I pick my CSS. And then here, just put the path. So ./style.css. And that's all, guys. Save it. And now here we go. All started working. That means, guys, coding wise, no difference, right? Coding wise, no difference. It's the same thing. Selector, CSS. Everything's same. Okay. The main thing was just linking it. And now your HTML file will no longer look like a mess. It will look good because now there's only HTML here and CSS is here. Is that clear, guys? Everyone, are we cleared with this? Please confirm that so that now we can move ahead to the next task. So are we cleared, everyone? Now our task is to learn more and more about properties, because now we know what is CSS, what is the basic idea of writing CSS, how to apply it in the inline way, how to apply it in the internal way, and how to apply it in the external way. Now, from now on, our job is to understand how many different properties are there, because right now we have only seen few of them, right? Background color, then font size. We have only seen few properties. From now on, guys, our job is to learn how many properties are there. So I'll talk about display, I'll talk about flexboxing, we'll talk about many more properties. We'll talk about, font, different kind of fonts, we'll talk about colors. We have a lot of properties to discuss on, guys. Is that clear, everyone? We'll talk about height, we'll talk about width, we'll talk about percentages. So we have a lot of things to do. Is that clear, guys? Let's move ahead and let's talk about the most important thing that you should learn in CSS. And why I'm calling it as the most important thing, because if you understand this, the whole layouting thing will be very, very easier for you. Okay, everyone ready, guys? Can we move ahead? So for that, guys, I'm planning to create a new file. So let me go ahead and create a new file called as day3.html. And guys, see, in this case, I'm going to have a really smaller CSS. So I'm not planning to create a separate file. I'm planning to put it in an inline internal way. Or we can also create it. Let's create it. Let's create a new file called as day3.css as well. So day3.css. So guys, I have an HTML file, I have a CSS file. Now, let's go ahead, please. So yeah, guys, let's write the basic HTML tag quickly. And let me remove all the extra things that we don't need right now. And guys, the next thing that we are learning is box model. So all your questions will be answered now. Box sizing, what is box sizing, what is padding, what is margin, don't worry, just wait now. I'm going to tell you about this, everyone, quickly. And guys, how do we link it? We have to link it, right? So let's link it using link tag. Link and file path is /day3.css. Okay. Now, guys, please focus. For the next few minutes, guys, just focus. Every element that you create on an HTML page can be considered in terms of a box. Please listen to me carefully, guys. Every element that you create on your HTML page is actually wrapped inside a box. Remember this, guys, is wrapped inside a box. No matter if it is looking like a box or not, every element is wrapped inside a box. Let me show you. Guys, please focus. Everyone, please focus, okay? Let's have a p tag, okay? Inside this p tag, let me just have normal text like, hello, everyone, something like that. Hello, everyone. Okay, all good, simple. Save it. Give it a class so that we can apply CSS. So let's give it a class of para1. Now, guys, how do we apply CSS? Everyone, dot para1. Okay, let's give it a font size of 30 pixels so that it becomes big, and let's give it a color of blue. Cool. Simple, guys. Everyone, I hope you're understanding this. Let's run this file quickly. So I'll copy the path, go in our browser and paste it here. Okay, nice. You can see we have a very simple P with 30 pixel and hello everyone. Let me just zoom it. Okay, nice. Now, if you look at it, it doesn't look like a box. If you look at it, it doesn't look like a box. But if you go ahead and give this P tag a background color, you will see something like this. It's putting the background color like this. That means internally, guys, you can see if the background color is coming like this, the background color is giving color to the whole P tag. That means if you now look at it, the whole P tag was actually a rectangle, a box. Right, everyone? You can see that, right? If I didn't give it color, I thought that P is only this much. If I didn't give the color, I thought P is only this much text. But when you give the color, you now see a really different thing, that P is actually a big box like this. And guys, not only P, every element, as I said, even if a H1, for example, if I create an H1 now, and just write, let's say, hello. Okay, and let's apply some CSS to it. Sorry, not dot hello, it's an H1. So let's directly use the tag selector, H1. Let's just give it a background color of, yellow. And see, guys, H1 looks so small, like this much, but you can see it's also inside a box. So every element that you create is wrapped inside a box. And guys, not only block element, example, let's take a span and let's put content in it. Like, I am a span element. even if this element is not taking the entire width, you will see if I apply CSS on it and give it a background color of, gray, something like that. See that? It's also inside a box. Even if this box is not taking the full width, it is still a box. You can see this, right? Try to understand this. These borders, they are a box. So the main thing, guys, here is everything is inside a box. Image, video, audio, no matter what element you create. Every element is wrapped inside a box. Sometimes you might see it, sometimes you might not, depending on if you give color to it or not. But every element is wrapped inside a box. That's why, guys, it's very important. Now, it's wrapped inside a box because of some reason. Because boxes are much more easier to arrange and handle. Have you guys ever thought why these puzzles and everything are square cuts? Have you guys ever thought that? Because they are easier to manage and fit it here and there, right? Everyone. That's why here also everything is wrapped inside a box so that they can be placed easily. They can be aligned easily. They can be arranged easily. Only if they are boxes, this is much more possible. Okay. Now see, guys, these elements are wrapped inside a box. Nice. Very good. No issues. But they are technically not supposed to be used like this because they are textual tags. They are basically created to use like a text. But in reality, guys, when you go onto these web pages, like for example, if I go to, flipkart.com, here you will see that here, this section, now see, guys, here we have images and all that stuff and text. So I know that this is not a p tag, but here if you see, guys, its whole thing is wrapped inside a box. Here also, if you see, this whole thing is wrapped inside a box. So what if I want to create my own box? Sir, you haven't taught us tags for HTML, audio and video tags. So guys, if you see all these elements, if you see this whole thing, this whole collection of elements is wrapped inside a box. Even if you see your navigation bar, this whole white thing is nothing but a box. So guys, even though these P elements and all of them are creating boxes for you internally, but sometimes you might need an empty box in which you can put your elements. Okay, so how to create empty boxes, guys? How to create your own boxes to which you can arrange them easily and all that stuff. How to create those boxes. Or guys, technically they are called as containers. Okay, so see, guys, again, understand last point here that the P tag, every tag that you're going to be using is going to create a box, is going to be wrapped inside a box. But those boxes are only for their uses. What if I want to create my custom box to which I can give easily height, width, I can make it big or small, and I can start putting some content in that. How to create our own custom boxes. So guys, those boxes are called as containers. Why containers? Because they help you to contain n number of elements inside them. See, this white box is containing these many elements. This white box is containing these many elements. So every box is containing a lot of elements. Okay, so that's why they are called as containers or boxes. So how to create your own containers or boxes, guys? So because see, everyone, this P is specifically used for paragraphs. H1 is specifically used for heading. So that means they have a meaning. These tags, even though internally they are also wrapped inside a box, they already have their own use. If you use a P, it will behave like a paragraph. If you use a H1, it will behave like a heading. So what if I want to create something which will be just a box in which I can put any element? So guys, those elements can be created using tags like div, tags like section, tags like nav, tags like header. Okay, these are all the various tags which will help you to create boxes. Okay, simple plain boxes. These are all the elements. Now you might ask, why? Like if I really want to create a box, why I need so many tags? And trust me, guys, it's a good question to have. Like for example, if I'm using a div, let's say div. Okay, nice. Let's apply some CSS to it. Div. Okay, let me remove all this CSS from here. Now see, guys, div is not made to do anything by default. So even if I give it, see, by default, it does nothing. You'll see here. See this. It does nothing, right? Not like H1 or something. Even if I put some content in it, that content also looks normal. See, that content also looks normal. It's not, getting paragraphed or it is not getting bold because of H1. It's normal. because divs are not supposed to do anything on their elements, whatever you create inside them. They are generally there just so that you can create blank boxes. Okay. Now, if I apply some CSS, for example, let's give it a height. By default, they don't have any height and width. So let's give it a height like, 300 pixel. Let's give it a width like 400 pixel. And let's also give it a background color of red. So now you will see it is just a blank box. That's all. Okay, simple. It's just a blank box. See, that's how you create a blank box of any size. And guys, just like that, I can use a section tag as well. I can create a section tag and I can apply CSS on that as well. So let's go. Let's use a section tag. Oh, why I'm using these brackets again and again? Okay. Let's give it a height of 200 pixel, width of 200 pixel, and background color of blue. I will see, here we go. Simple. And just like that, guys, let's use a header tag in between them. And if you see now, it's also just creating a box for you. 300 pixel, height 200 pixel, and background color yellow. And guys, you will see it's just a box. So now guys, here you have to understand that all these tags, even though they have different names, they are just there to create containers or boxes. Okay, so now it will be a little confusing for you, right? You can think, then why? Then why just we don't have div? Why just we don't have section? Like, why do I have to give them different names if they are literally doing the exact same thing? So guys, till HTML4, it was like that. You only had div. But after that, guys, you have these many different elements so that while creating the box, you can tell or you can make the browser understand why I'm creating this box. For example, if you're creating the top section, which we call as header, for that, you can either use div or use header. But if you use a header tag, browser or the search engine will easily understand, okay, this is a header. So according to the semantics, according to the convention, it's like if you're creating a top box, which is like this one, if you go on Flipkart, like this top one, you can use a header tag, right? You can use a section tag for any kind of section. For example, electronics section, beauty, food, toys section, sport section. This whole box is a section. So in that case, you can use a section tag. For the bottom part, like this, for this kind of thing, you can use a footer tag, like that, guys. So what they say is, if you want, you can completely just use div for any kind of box. But if you follow the rules, basic conventions, basic semantic, you can use section for any kind of section that you're creating. You can use div for any. Now see, guys, the logic is for header, you should use header. For footer, you should use footer tag. For the between area, you should go for main tag, like that. If you're creating a navigation box, use the nav tag. They will do nothing, guys. They are not going to support you in anything. These elements will not do anything. They will just create boxes. It's just they will have a good name. That's all, guys. Is that cleared? Tanmay, the difference between div and section technically is nothing. Coding wise, they are just same. They are just box. The main difference is the semantic. That if you use the section tag for SEO, it will be easier to understand, okay, this is the whole section which belongs to something. Yes, Naveen. Yes, you can say that. They are semantic elements. Are we cleared, guys? So technically, they just have different names. But those different names are just for the understanding of SEO and the browser. So that your website can be more optimized. But guys, other than that, they are just all boxes. They are not going to do anything for you. Don't think that if you use section, it will behave like a section. Nothing, guys. I can just use the div and create my whole site. Is that clear, everyone? What standards, what W3C says is just simply go ahead. And if you're creating the top box, like see, I can create this top box using div also. But what they say is, okay, let me show you the footer tag is here. Let's go. Even if I use the footer tag, I'm using it once. Don't worry, I'm using it once. Wait. If I go ahead and, just give it some height and width, it depends on me, whatever I am doing to it. Height 200 pixel, width 200 pixel, background color, let's say purple. It's up to me. Wait. Okay. See this. Here we go. A simple box. Now it's up to me. If I want, I can also put footer on top. I know technically it's not correct, but up to me, guys. I can put footer on top. No one is stopping me, guys. It's just a box, everyone. It is just a box. Is that clear, everyone? Guys, are we cleared now? They are all just creating boxes for you. It's up to you, no matter what kind of height and width you give. It's just, they tell you that follow them properly so that it will be easier for the SEO to understand which is footer, which is header. So that when someone searches for your website, they can easily come into your website, understand, oh, this is the header, this is the footer. This is where I can find the navigation. This is where I can find the footer. This is where I can take the links. Is that clear, everyone? Understanding my point here now? That means they don't have any specific use case, guys. It's up to me. I can use footer for creating the header. I can use header tag for creating the footer. Understood, everyone? Please, can you confirm that now? It's just a basic rule or basic ideology that you should follow, that if you want to create your header, use a header tag. If you want to create a footer, use a footer tag. But if I want, I can use the div tag everywhere. Just div tag. I can use section tag for everything. But just a good convention to follow. Exactly. For SEO and for the screen reader, it will be much more easier to understand. So guys, your website will perform better. You don't want, right, that search engine should ignore your website. So your website will perform better if you use proper semantic rules and regulations. Okay, guys, I hope it's cleared, everyone. That means technically they don't mean anything. It is just naming convention. Okay, it is just naming convention. I hope it's clear, guys. I know that it's a little confusing. In the start, it's because our mind thinks like, why? I can just have div, it's completely fine. But guys, that's the base logic. That's the base idea. Those names don't mean anything for us. I can totally use just div for everything. And that's what I used to do. When I started creating websites, I just used to use div for everything. But then I got to know, if I use proper names, my website will be more performance oriented. SEOs will better understand my things. It will be also easier for disabled people to read my websites because they use screen readers, right? Okay. Cool, everyone. Okay. Now, guys, the next thing is going to be very, very, very important. Okay. So please, I want you to focus. So for now, let's ignore all of them. We don't need them right now. And let's also remove this whole CSS. Okay. Now, see, guys. Now, from all of this, we got a better understanding that either you create whatever element, it is already wrapped inside a box, or you create own box by using div section header. But at the end, you have a box, guys. Right, everyone? That means every element that you create is just a box. Correct, guys? Can we say that? Everyone, yes or no? Come on, quickly. Can we say that? Either whatever elements you create, they are already inside a box, or you create boxes yourself by using div section, all that. But at the end, everything is in the box. That's the base definition. Everything is a box, right? Guys, let's move ahead. So that means now we have understood that everything is a box. Now we need to understand how does the element takes up size on the web page. Okay, that's very important to understand. Okay, so for that, guys, for testing, now please focus, everyone. Please focus on the next topic. Let me get a dummy div. Okay, simple div. Let's give it a class of 1. Okay, simple 1 like this. And let's apply some CSS. So 1, I'm going to give it height of 300 pixel and width of 300 pixel and background color of red. Okay, simple. Okay, very simple element, 300 by 300 and that's it, color red. All good, all simple, all nice. Fine. Now, guys, height and width are not the only properties responsible for sizing of an element on the web page. Understand, guys, height and width are not the only properties responsible for the element to take up size on the web page. There are a few more properties. And to know about them, guys, what you can do is right click on the element, click on inspect. In your web page, just right click on inspect. And then this developer tool section will open up. Okay. In this element section only, if you scroll down, not in the elements, in the style section. So just below elements, you will be having the style section. Just move it up and you can see your CSS that you have written, right, to that element. You can see your element, which is nothing but a div. You can see it here, right? Your div with class 1. And you can also see your CSS that you have written. Now, if you scroll down, you will reach at this place. Now, this here that you see is what we call as the box model. This gives you a complete box information of that element. This gives you a complete information of how that element is taking size on the web page. And right now it's telling me your element. Now, whatever is mentioned in the center area, it's width into height. That means your element is not having any margin. It's not having any border. It's not having any padding. It's only having width and height of 300 by 300. And that's why your element looks like this. And guys, every element that you create has this. Every element that you create has this. This is called the box model. As I said, every element is wrapped inside a box. Okay. So every element has its own box model, which makes it easier for you to understand how that element is taking up size on the web page. Is that clear, guys? And right now you can see this element is not having any margin, not any padding, not any border, just width and height. That's all. But let me show you one more thing. If I create a H1 here, H1 of, okay. Now let me show you one more thing. Now see guys, we have a H1. I'm not giving any height to it, not giving any width to it. Simple. But I know that it's also wrapped inside a box, and every element on my page is wrapped inside a box. So every element has a box model. So now even if I just go to that element, so if I just go on that element, right click, and inspect, you will see that H1 is selected now. And if you just go down in the style area, that H1 is also having a box model. And see guys, if you see, H1 is also having a margin, but you can see it's having a margin. It's not having any border. It's not having any padding, but its width is 782 by default and height is 37. That's why it's taking up space. So this box model helps you to understand how your element is taking up size on the web page. Okay. So guys, every element has its own box model on the web page, and we need to understand that better because we have only seen width and height. We want to understand what is this padding, what is this border, and what is this margin. So guys, we'll understand that on this element. Okay, because this element is not having anything. No margin, no border, no padding, only height, width. So it will be easier for us to understand all that stuff. So now guys, let's see what is padding, because right now this element is having 0 padding. So what exactly is padding? So guys, padding is nothing but an extra fake size that you give on top of height and width. That's all guys. An extra fake size. Why I'm calling it as a fake size? Because in that size, you cannot put any content. For example, if I go ahead and put some content in this div, let's say I put like, let's upgrade. Now I say that div, whatever content you will be having, it will be having font size of 30 pixels. So that it looks big. That's all. So now guys, here we go. You can see it's having some content. Okay, nice. And guys, by default, that text is in the width and height area. Nice, all good. Okay, now, as I said, padding is nothing but an extra fake size added on top. But in reality, padding is nothing but an extra fake size that is added on top of height and width. So if I go on that element and if I say that I want you to have padding of 50 pixels. So now guys, from all the sides, 50 pixel will be added on all sides. Here we go. Now see, the element size has increased. Now if you see here, we have a padding of 50 pixel. See that guys, you can see right, all around you have a 50 pixel increase in size. Height and width is still, see guys, when I hover here, see it's getting highlighted. So height and width is still 300 by 300, but on top of that we have padding. But you can see the content that you wrote, it is still inside the height and width area. So guys, that area is what you also call as content area, because content will never go outside that. Whatever child elements or content that div will have, it will never go outside the content area. So width and height is also called as content area. Remember that guys, width and height area is also called as content area. Please never forget that guys, content area. And on top of that you have padding. And guys, in the padding area, you can never put content. So guys, it's just an extra fake size. That's a real definition. But guys, in CSS, a lot of people also say that padding is the gap between your content and the border. And you can say that. Why not? It's not a wrong thing, because if I say that this is the border of the element, right? We can say that it's a border because that's the edge. So border, and this is the content. So there is a gap. So a lot of people say that padding is the gap between the content and the border. But now, what if I put my content in center? Then am I going to consider from here till here it's padding? No. That's why the main definition should be padding is just an extra fake size added on top of your element. Secondly, if you're saying that it's a, so even if you're saying it's a space, don't tell content, because content can be also moved in center. Say that the space between the content area and the border can be considered as padding. So don't say content, say content area. Because if I go, like guys, for now, let me just put this content in center. Let's just for now, guys. I'm using some properties. Please, guys, don't worry. I'm just using some properties. Don't focus on them. It is just to show you, because tomorrow you'll learn it. So let me just put that in center. Okay. Let me just put this in center. So now, guys, I'm putting this let's upgrade in center of that box. Here we go. Now it's in center. But if you see, guys, this is your content area. So am I going to say that padding is now the gap between my content and the border? No. Because, guys, content ends here. So is this whole thing padding from here till here? No. So padding is a space between the content area and the border. Or what I like to say is always, it's nothing but an extra size that is added on top of your element. That's all. That's what I say. Simple. Because, guys, in reality also that is padding, right? For example, if you want to deliver a glass as a gift, what do? You put it in a box. But if that glass is not fitting the whole box, that will move here and there. So what do, guys? You put some extra paper rolls, tissue papers, cartons and all that, right? So that the box fills up completely. Now, according to the box, it's having an element which is having a full size. But in reality, the content is only the glass. The extra thing is just a fake size, so that the element doesn't move. That's what we call as padding, everyone. Okay. Now, guys, please don't worry about flex right now. Tomorrow, the whole session is only for this. Okay. Right now, I just did it so that you can understand what is padding properly. That's all, guys. Good enough? Nice. Okay. So, guys, that was padding. Simple. Extra size on top of the element. Now, the next property that you have, if you see on the box model, you have something called as border. Okay. Now, everyone, see, your second property that you have is border. So let's see. So guys, you can also go to the element and give it something called as border. But the best part, guys, and one more thing, guys, I forgot about padding. Padding cannot have a different color. Whatever is the color of the element, that will be always the color of the padding. Padding cannot have a different color. That's all, guys. Okay. Now, second you have is border. So now border, you can give a size of the border, 20 pixel. But the best part about border is, guys, it can have a different color. And also borders have type. By default, I want a plain border. So I'm going to give solid. Solid means plain straight border. So border, 20 pixel solid plain border. And let's say the color I want is black. So I can give a different color to the border. And now, guys, you'll see, here we go. Now see, 300 height and width. On top of that 50 pixel padding. On top of that 20 pixel border. And guys, the best part is border can have a different color. Is that cleared, guys? Everyone? And border can have different type. Right now it's solid, that's why it's plain. But you can also, make it dashed. So now border will become dashed, which I don't like a lot. But here we go. You can see. This is what dashed. I don't like it, guys. I don't like it a lot. But fine, it's there. Okay, everyone. So dashed border you can also have. And there are more types. You have dotted, you have ridged. But I just want to don't do that right now. You can figure it out. It's very easy. So guys, let's keep it solid for now. Okay. Now, guys, the third thing that you saw here was this, a very, very mysterious thing, which is margin. Now, guys, for some people, they say that margin is a movement. And I am also guilty of that. In the initial days, I also used to say that margin is moving the element. But guys, it looks like that. In reality, guys, margin is also just like padding. It's also an extra fake size which is added on top of the element, on top of the border. Guys, the sequence is followed, okay? Margin is added on top of the border. Okay, so margin is also extra fake size added on top of the border. But the difference between margin and padding is margin is invisible. Margin is invisible. So if I go ahead and give a margin of, let's say, 50 pixels like that, you will see now a 50 pixel margin will be added everywhere on top of that element. See that, guys, everyone? Can you see that? A 50 pixel margin has been added on all sides. Okay. But guys, it's also a size. It is invisible. That's why we say space or it's moving or all that stuff. But if you think of it like a size, it will be much more better for you to understand. So don't think any of them like a space, guys. Think of them as extra sizing. It will make your CSS much more easier. If you think of them space in future, if you're using display flex and using column gap and row gap, you'll be confused. Then how come this space is coming from? That's why I never call them space. I always call them as extra size. The difference is padding is visible, border is visible, margin is invisible, but it's also a size. But because that is invisible, we feel like it's moving, but guys, it's not moving. Okay, it's just an extra size, but it makes it look like it's moving. Okay, everyone? Okay, so guys, are we cleared here, everyone? And guys, inside a box, you can do whatever you want. I put a content, you can do whatever you want, guys. Like I can also put an image here. Why not? I think someone asked, right, how to add an image. Up to you guys. Inside the div, go ahead and you can use the image tag to put an image. Why not? Let me remove the alt, or let me just put like, Thor img. Let me give this image a height of 200 pixels and let's put some image here. Image we can get online. So, let's search for monkey D. Luffy. Okay. Let's take one image like this one. So copy the image address. You can also download it, guys, but let me just put it directly. So now I have an image tag, which is having a height of 200 pixels. That's all. And here we go. Is that clear, guys? Yes, guys. See, first of all, you can also call it a space. You can also call it a size. I call it a size because I understand it like that. And because it's actually size. But guys, it's up to you, right? You can also call it a space because there is no element in that. So you can also call it a space. I really hope everything that we have learned here is clear. Guys, I use padding if I want to, I use margin if I want to give space because it's invisible. So it makes it look like a space. I use padding if I just want to increase the gap between, the border area and the text or the content area. So what we say in definition. Okay. So that's all. That's it. Use margin if you want to create space between two elements. Use padding if you just want to give some extra, area to your content. That's all. Okay, everyone. So guys, technically they look like space. That's why in definition also you can say it's space. So as I'm saying, guys, I'm not denying. You can also call it as a space. You can also call it size. I understand it like space, but I call it as extra sizing because in reality it's sizing. But technically you can, when you see, oh, there's a space. Oh, there's a space. That's why we can call it a space as well. Okay. So guys, tomorrow's session, according to me, is going to be the most important session, everyone. We'll learn about arranging. We'll learn about aligning. We'll learn about moving things here and there. We'll put images in our div. We'll put text. We'll make our site look good. We'll be getting prepared for the final day project.